Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it, presented by Rogue Matter. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture with the rogues who create it every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on Facebook.com/Rogue Matter Podcasts. Download this podcast immediately, follow the live stream on all major podcasting apps. Give us a like, give us a share, give us a subscribe. Join the movement. Go Rogue, roguematter.com. I am your host, Michael Dolce, as always, joined by my cohort in crime, Mr. Hassan Godwin. How you doing, sir?
Hey, ho, ho. Hope it's got to go. I don't know. Whatever. Lockdown's got to go. We got to get out of lockdown.
Pretty soon.
Weird
pretty
lockdown.
Soon. Now, lockdown TV, though, got to say, I got cued in to watch a cartoon show that I never watched the comics about and kind of into it a little bit now. It's the Invincible cartoon. Have you been watching that on Amazon at all?
Yes, I've seen it. I've been.
Did you read the comics at all or no?
No, I didn't read the comic. I mean, I have a compendium of it that I've been slowly going through, but mostly it's pretty accurate to the comics. So you probably don't even really. I don't know if this was their goal, but you don't even really need to watch. You read the comic if you're watching the show. It's
basically verbatim. Well, animated.
I don't know if it's verbatim. It's very close though. Yeah. It's like, they haven't changed anything so drastic that the comic would. It's not like Walking Dead, the comic versus the TV show. Right.
Well, with the animation that you can literally do almost a direct adaptation without.
Yeah. I mean, but you would understand if they didn't. Yeah. But I'm saying it's close enough. It's pretty close. You're probably missing minute details of things, whatever, but for the most part, you're getting the broad strokes.
Yeah, I got the first two episodes. I watched the first two episodes. I got manipulated into watching it by. Did you see the end of it? End of what? The first episode? No, I started the show. It was okay. I didn't get through that. He's you got to see the ending. All right, I'll go see the ending. And then I was like, all right. Kirkman's very good at that. Kirkman's very good at being able to kind of like cliffhanger you to wanting to see the next thing.
Yeah, he's got that. He's kind of got that on lock.
Yeah.
I also like that the cartoon's in a completely different format. It's an hour-long cartoon. It's like an hour-long episode, so that's good. Like you're getting a full dose. Even Disney +, isn't mastered the giving us full hour-long content so that we can watch it. The other thing is the thing I will make mention of, and it's not the material's fault by any stretch of the imagination. It's not Kirkman's fault by any stretch of the imagination. It's another spoiler for a moment. It's another dubious Superman. It's another questionable, a morally dark Superman kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like the boys just did it. Freaking DC is doing it with the actual Superman. It's like, all right.
Well, that's the funny part about it too, right? Because that ending, no spoilers, but it's been out for a while, is a very boys-ish ending. Like right down to it. And you're like, oh, okay. And so part of me was like, all right, I've kind of seen this. And the other part of me is like, all right, you got me. I'll put the next one on. Like, all right, I'm curious.
I mean, it works. It's good. And it's like I said, it's the same thing I said about Justice League when we were having a discussion about it before. It's like it's not like we're not going to watch this stuff. This stuff is like the bread and butter of the whole purpose we're here is because we're watching this stuff. So that's fine. And I'm enjoying it. It's just that's now it's a trope. Now the dark Superman, the doubtful
superhero satire.
It's a trope. And so that's kind of sad. Also the weird phenomenon of making off-brand Justice League, iconography, like that's not Wonder Woman, but it's supposed to be Wonder Woman. Right. That's not Green Lantern, but it's supposed to be Green, and again, like the Seven from the Boys, with Maeve and, and it's like, all right, okay, I get it. Like you could have like dark superheroes that are not archetypical of, other superheroes that we are, but they want to get that zinger in. They want to say, what if Green Lantern was a total jackass, and so it's like, all right, I get it. And it's cool. And it's fine, and there's nothing wrong with it, and it does it really well. I actually think my hot take on it is I think Invincible does the boys better than the boys.
Well, if you read the comic of the boys, which I've now been going through on Comixology because it's on Unlimited, it's completely different.
Yeah, I know. What I mean is,
like, the actual superheroes are almost side notes to, to Huey,
to the actual boys.
Yeah, to the actual boys. Like, you're really,
I know.
The perspective is different. I mean, obviously the characters are very similar and the same, but it's actually different. So the TV show kind of one-upped Invincible. Invincible, if this is a direct adaptation of the comic, then Invincible actually predates the boys in terms of, a visceral, like, superhero, and the perspective is the superhero, but the boys beat it to TV, beat that perspective to TV, I guess.
What I mean is, it's better than the boys because it does the same shock, visceral shock value.
Yeah.
Of something that we would typically see on a Saturday morning cartoon.
Right.
Of these kind of, but it also world builds. There's also an entire universe and, broader, there's like in the boys, in the TV show, there's almost no reason for there to be the 7. There are no frequent alien invasions or monsters or anything like that. So you understand in Invincible why we tolerate superheroes, because every now and then some dimensional hole opens up and a horde of androids
Martians just come and invade.
And start. So that's why we would in our psychology we would allow for super beings to stop it. So like in the boys, it's like, why are these guys even here? Because all they do is profile a lot and bicker and pretend to be wholesome, and they're not. And it would be more, in my opinion, it would be more of there would be more nuance to it if they complicated the boys with the fact that the 7, who are all a bunch of, amoral, miscreants, basically, but they also serve a purpose because every now and then, Loki shows up with an army to destroy New York, so so the boys actually become heroes, heroic. So, I mean, the 7 becomes, a heroic force. So now that causes people to have a debate amongst themselves as to whether they're needed or not, so that, so I think Invincible does that a lot better. I think the world building in Invincible is a lot broader. I also understand that it being a cartoon, it's allowed to do things that a live action show is not.
Yeah.
So it is what it is, but
I'm kind of enjoying it though.
Yeah.
We weren't going to even talk about that. I just thought I'd bring it up. I thought it was an interesting little tidbit for you. Little tidbit.
I don't disagree with you.
Well, we're going to talk about a little Falcon Winter Soldier.
We're going to talk about the Mighty Ducks, right? On Disney Plus, the Mighty Ducks, Return of the Mighty Ducks. Come on, Emilio Estevez is in it. What? What?
Hockey.
That's in your wheelhouse, though. That was that came out. The Mighty Ducks came out. I think 1993.
Nah, it was.
How old were you in 1993, Michael?
I was 8.
You were a Ducks guy.
No, sorry, I was in 8th grade. I was in 8th grade.
You're completely in the
no, I think it was 93 or 95.
I think it was 93.
It might have been, but either way, I was in high school at this point, and no, I just
because there were 3 of them. There's a Mighty Ducks trilogy.
I know. No,
now there's a TV show to add to, and there's also an animated show. It
post-dated my interest level. That was like Power Rangers kind of coming out after I'd already been knee deep in Mutant Ninja Turtle. I didn't need that.
That old excuse. Oh no, it came out and I was past it, or I was into girls by then. So I was.
Yeah, no, Mighty Ducks was off my radar at that point.
All right, so we're never going to get to talk about the Mighty Ducks Disney Plus. I guess we should talk about that
Shang
other
Chi?
weird show, that Falcon and the Winter Soldier crap.
We'll talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier a little later. We're going to introduce a new segment. Very excited about. You loved the name, and I'm gonna put it out there as pop.
Don't shine me out front. Just take the credit for you. Just put it out there and let it be itself. See,
and we're gonna introduce that. Kind of go through all the news and notes that are going on in the world of pop culture. We have a little Hassan Rogue Rage when we talk about Falcon Winter Soldier. But first, Shang Chi trailer drops, and it is fire. Simu Liu suits up in first look at Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Trailer came by. We'll do a little trailer truth or trash. Actually, we didn't even have to do trailer to the trash. It was great, right? Like I enjoyed the trailer immensely, and we finally get one. Right? We finally get. I mean, we had kind of talked about this with Steve Ovecki on our show a couple of weeks ago. How we've seen 800 Black Widow trailers, and I never saw a single Shang Chi trailer.
Yeah, we complained about that. I don't think that was Ovecki's perspective, but we definitely.
I did complain. Like, yes, I can absolutely say I complained that I did not get to see any of it. I feel like it was like the forgotten child. And then it dropped, and then immediately people were comparing it to Iron Fist. And all the memes.
Yeah, I saw like a couple of people say this is what Iron Fist should have been, and whatever. Yeah. Okay, all right, all right. Yeah. Like I don't understand why something has to be burned in order for us to like something else. I don't get it. Like it's like This is. I mean, even though I was part of the hysteria, especially like the Snyder cut. It's like, oh, this just destroys the theatrical cut. It's like. I don't know why it has to destroy. Like it is what it is on its own.
It did destroy it, though. I mean, I think you can compare
every time I try to make a point. I mean,
I know, but I think you can compare the Zack Snyder destroying the Joss Whedon Justice League version just because it's the same movie done by two different people, and so it's kind of. That one I think lends the credibility to it a little bit more in terms of like having the argument. The Iron Fist one, that's just kicking a guy when he's down.
It's just an example, though. I'm just making an example. Like it's like the same as to say, like I saw a couple of people talk about Godzilla King of the Monsters was better than Godzilla, versus Kong. It's like, like, okay, you liked it more. I don't know if it was better. I don't know if any of those movies are better or worse than the other. You either get what you wanted. I mean, look, I
enjoyed Godzilla versus Kong much more.
You literally sat down to watch a giant ape punch a giant lizard. That's literally what. And if you get that, then you're happy. If you don't get that, you're not there for the story of why they're fighting. You don't really give a damn why they're fighting. You want them to crush buildings and punch each other out until one of them swims away, which is basically what the movie was, right?
Yeah.
So like to say this story was way better, than the King of the Monsters. Like, all right, maybe that one reached out and grabbed you more than this did, but like why does one diminish the other? I don't understand. I don't get it.
Yeah, that one again. You're kicking a man when he's down. I mean, Iron Fist was it's a TV show, so it's a smaller budget. B, it just that's it. Plain and simple.
Yeah,
smaller budget. The fight scenes can't. They generally are not going to rival something that is of the same vein, which is martial arts.
I'll do something wrong.
It's different, like saying like the Daredevil fight scene, like the fight scene in Daredevil when he's in the abandoned building all by himself and he has to take down all those people. Look what they did with that budget, but that's different than saying.
I know, I get you. I mean,
it's not apples to apples.
I don't. Yeah, you and your apples. I don't know anything about Shang-Chi. I don't know anything about Shang-Chi.
He may not be a household name.
I'd love to finish my sentence. Just let me finish the sentence.
Sorry.
All right. I don't know anything about Shang-Chi. The trailer, made me like, I'm gonna watch this. Like without knowing anything about it, without knowing any of the tenets of the story, who I'm looking at, other than the Mandarin, who I do know. And mostly I know the Mandarin because of all the other ancillary appearances that he did in other franchises within the Marvel universe, because I wasn't a big reader of the Iron Man when I was younger. So I mean, he did the Mandarin did show up in X-Men a couple of times. One of my favorite X-Men stories, the Acts of Vengeance. Which is also where Psylocke turned Japanese.
There you go.
But you could do that in comic books. The rings, they use the rings, I understand. And the rings are kind of, like it's kind of the Mandarin is kind of a micro Thanos, because he's got these these special rings that boost his power level. Well, that's the name of the movie, Legend of the Ten Rings. Yes, I know. So I knew that, but I didn't know who Shang-Chi was. I didn't know,
It's actually Shang-Chi. Pronounced Shang-Chi.
Okay. Anyway, so
no, I didn't know this either. So I learned all this from an article on Entertainment Weekly, which I'm glad you brought this up. So this will kind of go into a little bit more about this. He may not be a household name like his fellow heroes Iron Man or Captain America, but the idea of making a Shang-Chi movie is older than the Marvel Cinematic Universe itself. He was created by Steve Englehart and Jim Starlin. The Kung Fu Master made his comics debut in 1973 as a way for Marvel to capitalize on martial arts stories, which were popular with the American audiences at the time. Stan Lee reportedly tried to develop a Shang-Chi film starring Brandon Lee as early as the 1980s. But that never materialized. So now it is part of the Marvel universe in terms of the MCU. In the early 2000s, the then nascent Marvel Studios started to assemble a notebook of comic characters who could potentially headline their own films. It included Shang-Chi. In the article, that's how they say to pronounce it, actually, which is great because I kept pronouncing it Shang-Chi. So I don't. In fact,
it's also pronounced
nascent,
not nascent, but
is it nascent? Is that?
It's nascent.
Oh, it's nascent. Mm-hmm. Hey, see, we both learned something new today. The most exciting thing about stepping into this character was that his backstory has never been told. Lou says, we know so many different versions of Batman's origin story, how his parents were murdered when he was young. We know Peter Parker, who was bitten by a radioactive spider. It was his uncle. Shang-Chi's story is very much unknown to most of the world. So we had a lot of freedom and creative liberty to make it the way we wanted to. So I love it. I love the fact that we're going to watch this thing, like you kind of said. I don't know a lot about it. I don't have a lot of attachment to it in terms of, well, I read the comics and they better be like the comics. This gets kind of, it's free of all that baggage, but it sets him in the Marvel universe, and that's kind of cool, right? Like, so that gives, that kind of gives it, I don't want to say gives them a get out of jail free card, but it gives them an advantage that I think a lot of other, comic book films just don't have, right? Or films based on comic books. And that's a good thing. I think they can definitely do stuff. The Mandarin is another thing too, so we've seen the Mandarin, right? There's a character. So here we go. To play the master villain, the filmmakers tapped legendary Hong Kong actor Tony Leung, known for his films. Is it Lang or Lung? Lang. I'll butcher it one way or the other. Known for films like Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love and the Chung Kung Express, a character like Wenwu could have easily been a one-dimensional villain with no heart. Tony opened this character up so this is an antagonist who has a deep ability to love. Their on-screen relationship is complicated, but off-camera, they became fast friends, bonding over snowboarding. He's a huge adrenaline junkie, Lou says, of his cinematic dad. Wenwu was a new character created entirely for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He has ties to the Ten Rings, the mysterious terrorist organization first name dropped in Iron Man 2008, which is great. They're finally picking that piece back up again. As Schwartz and Feige put it, Wenwu has gone by many names throughout the decades, and one of those titles is the Mandarin, one of the most infamous villains in Marvel history. The name previously popped up in 2013's Iron Man 3, only for that version, played by Ben Kingsley, to be revealed as a fraud, an out-of-work actor named Trevor Slattery. Leung's Wenwu is something new.
That's not exactly true, though, unfortunately.
Dangerous. What's that? What do you mean?
Because Guy Pearce declared himself the Mandarin at the end of the film.
That's right. I love that. Everyone gripes about that.
I mean, if they're going to try to retcon and say that it was only Ben Kingsley, who was faking it, it's like, no, there's another guy who actually declared himself the Mandarin, and it was his idea. He was the one using Ben Kingsley, right? So,
right, and see, that's the thing that's kind of cool too, right? Now that gives added layers to this too, to where. Because it's a title, right? It's a title. It's like Emperor, and the Emperor can change who it is.
Guy Pearce in China, though. Like you can't first of all, there's Mandarin China. That's a place in China, right? So that's where the Mandarin comes from,
right?
So like it's for Guy Pearce to decide that he's just going to give himself the title of the
for him to appropriate Mandarin, that title. I love it.
Yeah, he's appropriating the title. Okay, all right.
No, but that's good though. Like that gives you fodder for storytelling. That gives you fodder for mythology that you can kind of get into. And maybe the Mandarin was like a dormant kind of figure, and I'm just speculating. I have no knowledge about this whatsoever because obviously we didn't read too much of the comics, but B also the the films have now kind of changed that history regardless by having the Guy Pearce character to begin with, right?
Look, if they want to say, if they like, it's the same argument it's the same argument I would give with the whatever conversation, whatever discussion of contention we would have about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's the same thing. They've, as far as I'm concerned, me primarily, as far as I'm concerned, they've engendered enough goodwill that I'm like, oh, okay, well, we'll just go with it. Like, as a, I'm not gonna, rake them over the coals just because,
right.
At one point, for some reason, Guy Pearce, while he was glowing in the dark, decided he was going to call himself the Mandarin, and thus that means we can't even do Shang Chi or anything else like that. That's not how this works. So if they come up with a credible reason for why, both of those work in the same universe, then I'll take it.
No, I think there is. Because of the way they did that, it's not just that they'll find a way, but they'll find a way that has meaning that actually enhances the legend of the Mandarin. It is my thinking, right? Because now it's like it's almost
the Mandarin is a dialect of Chinese. It's not a place in China, so that shows exactly what I know, right? So, but I mean, it is a thing. It is.
I like the research on the fly, though. That's good.
Yeah, because I knew that level of a buffoonery would just haunt the entire segment that they were doing, So
one might argue
I clarify
that the entire segment is a level of this entire podcast is a level of buffoonery. So
I know, but I mean, like, there's no need to lean into it, right?
Sometimes it's good to just go with it.
When I first encountered the Mandarin
I believed you. I believed you. I didn't. Yeah, I was like, yes, it is. You're right. It is a place in China.
It's a thing we should have looked up.
You're very accurate with your assessments, Hassan. I realize that. Yes, you're very learned.
Yeah,
it's learned, son. Learned. It's a famous Simpsons quote.
Never mind. I don't even know why I bothered.
You weren't a Simpsons guy. But that was good.
Nope. Yeah, I'm
Homer,
sure.
Homer is like adopting.
Now you're going to explain it. Now we're going to go deep into the explanation of
Homer's fighting with Bart, so he becomes a big brother to this like exchange student, and the exchange student is like, "Oh, Mr. Simpson, you're very learned." He goes, "Learned, son, learned." It's really good. It's Conan O'Brien years. They were great. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think about the trailer? Are you guys excited to see the Mandarin popping up? Are you excited for this movie? I don't see how you can't be. So I immediately squash any opinions to the contrary. However, you might have them, and you can put them in the Facebook feed, and we will comment on them. When we come back, Falcon and Winter Soldier, the penultimate episode, we will dive into the episode.
Welcome to Button Stash, the show about the best mustaches in gaming.
Casey, it's Button Smash. It's the new gaming podcast from the Rogue Matter Network. I don't know where you got mustaches from.
Well, I'm not shaving. But we will talk about gaming news, reviews, inside scoops, and retrospectives.
Join us live on twitch.tv/WeAreRogueMatter on Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, or download our episodes wherever you listen to your podcast.
But please, Casey, shave.
Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast, frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. So the commercial for it coming up next week. We've got the guys from Button Smash coming on. They're going to do a special May the 4th stream on twitch.tv/WeAreRogueMatter. And we're going to get a sneak preview at it on our show next week. It's what they call synergy. Linkitude. For all my How I Met Your Mother fans. One other thing of note, Hollow Mark number 4 on roguematter.com right now, written by yours truly. It's chapter 4 in the saga of Markham and his quest to find his girlfriend's killer. He runs into a dangerous assassin known as the Sicilian, and it doesn't end quite the way you think it's going to end. So check that out. Go to roguematter.com. You can read it. It's a short story. Each chapter It's prose, I should say, not short story. It's prose, chapter 4. Go check it out for free. Everything on roguematter.com is free. Can't go wrong. All right. Falcon and Winter Soldier, episode 5. The director kind of came out and said this is the best episode of the season, or it's like the most important or whatever. It's finally gotten to a good place for me, Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like, I feel like I'm totally into it now. Whereas, as you famously are aware, the first 2 episodes I thought were really not very good. So didn't start out very good, but got to a good place now. And I think it's got to a good place now because it finally recognizes the Falcon's the main character of this show. And they've not been like everything that was kind of happening in this episode to me is what I kind of needed in the first 2 and I never got, which was the dynamic between him and Sam as actual friends, as opposed to just kind of, like a weird married couple that just never seemed to kind of go together. And they can bicker and they can kind of be at each other, and I get it, but it just didn't come across very engaging to me. Whereas
they had done that in the first 2 episodes, like where would the story have had room to go? Right? Isn't part of it that they needed to come to a level of agreement or cohesion? Having
an arc, yes, I agree. The execution of that, again, just to me, Bucky was just very annoying those first 2 episodes, and kind of not even needed, to be honest with you. He wasn't needed in a lot of the episodes. And this episode, I felt like Falcon finally took the forefront, and I like that. I like that he was the forefront. They honestly, in my mind, should have just done The Falcon as a TV show, and Winter Soldier could have been a Baron Zemo cameo, where I think it would have been of more interest. But instead, you had an incomplete Bucky storyline where, maybe he'll probably tell the old man that he killed his son. That's the most logical conclusion that will end up happening probably at the epilogue of next episode. But I don't know. I felt like this entire series, a character that should be very, very interesting and fascinating just hasn't been. And it's been kind of hamstringing Falcon, whose storyline was the more interesting of the 2 to begin with. And this episode finally puts it on him, right? And to me. No?
Cool. I mean, that's how you feel about it.
I agree.
I respect how you feel about it.
No, you don't. You're laughing at me.
Yes, I am. But only on the inside.
Oh, that was visibly. You literally just chuckled into the microphone.
I'm chuckling, ironically. It's an ironic, friendly chuckle. It's not really an accusatory or you're a moron kind of chuckle.
You're laughing with me.
Yeah, I'm totally laughing with you, even though you weren't laughing at the time. And if you laugh with someone and they're not laughing, it looks like you're laughing at them, but it really is you're just laughing with them. But you're laughing with their internal laughter. You sense their laughter inside them, and you're laughing along with it. That's how that.
You know who's not laughing?
Who's not?
Ed Brubaker. Ed Brubaker is the creator or the co-creator, along with Steve Epting, the artist, of the Winter Soldier. And he was on a podcast recently, and he said he gets more residuals from his Winter Soldier cameo than from creating the character of the Winter Soldier. And this is from the Beat website. In an online newsletter, former Captain America writer and co-creator expressed mixed feelings over the Falcon and Winter Soldier series and over Marvel and Disney's treatment of the creators behind the cash cows. On Monday night, he appeared on the Fat Man Beyond podcast hosted by Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin, where he spoke in greater detail about his dissatisfaction. Here's some of the quotes and get right into it. I remember sitting in the movie. This is when he was watching Winter Soldier, and just remembering this Jack Kirby ulcer growing in my stomach going, this is what it felt like, kid. When I see ads for the show, it actually makes me sick to my stomach. When I work with people, I try to give them the best possible deal. And if something ends up being a bigger thing, I try to actually adjust their deal so they can take part in it too. Brubaker contrasted his deal with Marvel with Netflix, who did right by Dave Chappelle by pulling Chappelle's show from the streaming service after the comedian revealed the original Raw deal with Comedy Central that was settled last February. There's nothing preventing anyone at Marvel from looking over how much the Winter Soldier has been used in all this stuff and calling me and Steve Epting and saying, you know what, we're going to try to adjust the standard things so you guys feel good about this. A couple other quotes. It's just weird that they're so ungenerous to me. It's especially weird because a lot of them are friends of mine or people I thought were friends. He made it known it's not Tom Brevoort, the editor, by the way, just to clarify in case people were wondering based on these comments. There's a corporate mentality right now. Someone inside Marvel Publishing somewhere is watching this and laughing that I think I got ripped off. There are people that think it's funny and I'm unhappy about it. I know for a fact because I've watched them be that way with other people in person. I look at those credits and there's all these executive producers of people who were just at the publishing level who had nothing to do with it. I know how much that EP credit actually makes you in a TV show at Disney. These people have made so much money on stuff that Steve and I did. As frustrated as Brubaker may be with his own Raw deal, he doesn't want them to distract from others enjoying the show. Nevertheless, it is what it is. Thoughts on Brubaker's comments?
I mean, I don't really have any thoughts on it. I mean, he's right, you know, in the sense that he's not, you know, if he's the one who would know if he's not being properly compensated for something. I can't tell him whether or not he's being compensated. I think the unfortunate aspect of it is that that's the deal that you signed with Marvel, right? Whatever you create, they own, right? So now, you know, now that it's a big deal, now that ownership rights over these things are a big deal because they're going into gigantic markets that, you know, where there's just a gold mine of money going around. The creators are like feeling like they're, you know, they get a residual check of like, I don't know, could be who knows how much these guys could be as small as $500, you know, for some of these things, you know? So yeah, naturally you're going to look at a movie as $1 billion movie and you're going to look at your residual royalty check of, you know, $1,200 and you're going to be like, I got robbed. You know, this movie wouldn't exist without my interpretation of, you know, Iron Man or my interpretation of like Daredevil or whatever, just to pick one. But, and I don't condone this at all. You know this when you're doing work for these people, you know, whatever you create, they own, you know? Yeah. And it's unfortunate. It's not a deal you should readily sign, you know, or if you do make a deal like that, you should be very careful about what you give them because it's not going to be yours anymore the moment it gets published in one of their comics. I know that especially most of these guys are young when they make these deals, these original deals, when they write these stories, and they're really excited about being out there and they're really excited about getting their work seen by many people and being part of the industry and being part of the legend of whatever book that they're working on, which is no small thing. Yeah. But when it comes down to monetary compensation at the end of it, you know, rest assured, whatever, you know, monster, you know, corporation has signed you to the they're going to hold to that contract of, you know, of monetary compensation. You're not going to be able
to do anything. I mean,
90% of the time, you're not going to be able to renegotiate yourself. I mean, sometimes it depends on how raw the deal is, and maybe you can sue them. But, and I don't know. I enter this without really having an opinion because I don't think that they deserve to be flinted, you know, because of the contract that they signed. I think that they should get compensation for what they invented, and I thank them, you know, for the entertainment that it's given me. And on the other hand, it is a contract you signed, you know, so, you know, what did you think was gonna, you know, I mean, it's the whole reason that Image exists, right? It's the whole reason we got Walking Dead and Invincible and all these other stories, is because an entire comic book company sprang up from disappointed creators who were not being given, as far as they were concerned, their fair shake of the royalties or the spoils of all the work that they did. I mean, it's not like this is a new thing. This has been a thing for quite a while, unfortunately, and it is not their fault for signing the contract. You know, you take a deal, you do work, but then again, it's not the company's fault for fulfilling that contract and giving you the bare minimum of what they think that they can get away with. So it sucks. It just really just all sucks.
Yeah, and this is the thing too, right? So he took a character that he didn't create. I mean, he created a version of a pre-existing character. He actually also broke the golden rule, which at Marvel was, we don't like Tom Brevoort for years used to say, he's like, no, we had a number one rule. You can't bring Bucky back. Bucky's always got to be dead. And then he had a compelling enough twist on it that Tom Reaver was like, okay,
yeah,
I could see that.
And suddenly that rule is gone.
Yeah.
F that rule. I see money bags in the future. F that rule.
So yeah, look, it's Steve Epting's design. It's Ed Brubaker's backstory, but he was building on a mythology that was already there too. So, again,
it's tough. It's really tough. The guys, the corporate people aren't the ones making these creative decisions. Rest assured, the creativity is what keeps the audience coming back over and over again, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is such an age-old, rivalry between the money people and the guys with the boots on the ground that I don't know right now what is a proper outcome for these things, because like business people, if it was just up to creators to make the business decisions, we probably wouldn't have an MCU.
Yeah.
There's some business mastermind behind all of this stuff who was able to turn this into mainstream entertainment for the entire world, right? You can't discredit that either. And it's probably someone who is not a creator, because creators are busy being creative.
Exactly.
Right? So I just don't know. My opinion of it.
It's tough. Look, it's tough one way or the other though, because again, if you're new, like you said, and you're young and you're just trying to get your name out there, I'll write for Captain America. I had this great story. Oh wow, they turned it into a movie. I'm not getting anything from it. But
yeah,
again, whether you knew or not or didn't know. Now, to his point, yes, they could come back and be like, "Hey, Ed, you created it. I don't want you going on podcasts and bad mouthing." That's now the strategy, and unfortunately, it's the only strategy that seems to work. Right? I personally do not like this strategy of making it public, of like airing public grievances, but I understand it. Like I understand why they're doing it. I don't like it. Don't get me wrong. Like
if they did the Sire, someone did the Sire movie, right, and they bought it from you, right? So they bought it from you outright, and then they put the Sire, and they changed his costume, and they changed the whole point of it, and they they changed, they made him Martian, they made him green, or something like that. You might feel compelled to be like, that's not my Sire, you might feel compelled to come out of nowhere and go, look. All the work I did to keep that character alive, and all the stuff that I did to keep him relevant enough to the point to build him up to the point where someone wanted to come along and buy him from me. Right. And now they just pooped all over everything that made that character what it is. You might feel compelled to do that.
Right. It's possible. I think it would be more if the situation was pairs to pairs, which is they cheated me out of it. Like they got to me. Yeah, see, I did that. You didn't like apples to apples, so I did pairs to pairs. Guavas to guavas. Ooh, that's
stop. Just
mangoes to mangoes.
No,
mangoes to mangoes. That's the way to go.
Now I'm hungry for tropical fruit.
If they came to me and swindled me out of it, then I would be more. Yes, I would be more upset about it.
I know. I'm not.
No, I know. I know you're not.
And this is not an argument with you.
I know.
It's just such an unknown. It's like I don't know what deals were made. In quiet,
right?
I don't know if they came to him and they came to Brubaker and said, "Look, dude, you're not going to make a lot from this. Right? We're going to give you a little something under the table. We really appreciate this. Please don't make a stink about it. Or if they were like, "Hey, dude, you handed it over. Nothing I can do about it. Good luck." We don't know, but I think it sucks. I think he's got a right to be upset.
Yeah.
But I also think you got to watch the contracts you sign.
I agree.
I think also the shitty thing that I self
double binged.
Yeah. So the thing about it is that when all these guys came up with all these deals, when they signed all these deals and he joined, there was nothing even remotely like MCU on the horizon. Exactly. So it is not fair that something you did in 1985, some contract you signed in 1985 means in 2021 you're not going to get any money for something that you put on. I think that needs to be examined. There needs to be some kind of compensation for the unknown factor. When it jumps markets like that, there needs to be some kind of clause in it that there's some kind of some small
I think the
remuneration
of of Brubaker airing his concerns is that other people will learn, right? I think that there's a degree of talent that's coming in that says, oh, I don't want to end up like that. And it sucks that they have to be the example of it, but at the same time, it's pretty good. All right. We do this every week, and it's going to tie into our Falcon and Winter Soldier. We do Hassan Godwin's Rogue Rage, all the rage in the pop culture world. There was a certain cameo. I'll let you take it from here.
A certain cameo in the last episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, right? The Madam Hydra in canon, in nomenclature. And it was a good one. I remember watching it going, man, this is going to upset a lot of people. I love Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I really do.
Yeah.
I really do.
Amazing to have her in the Marvel Universe too, by the way.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Amazing to have her in the Marvel Universe. Kind of fantastic, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
However, what's funny is that she and Coulson are in the Marvel Universe, and they were both a married couple in the New Adventures of Old Christine. Which is basically the first time I ever saw Coulson.
Look at that.
Yeah, but doesn't matter. That's not here nor there. But again, the terrible bell of speculation rang quite loudly on who it was that was going to be this cameo. And though I saw a lot of social media, I saw a lot of positive posts on social media about like, oh, we're happy about this. This is a really deep canon character that's not widely known, and we're getting Julia Louis-Dreyfus in the MCU, and everybody's really happy about. Well, not everybody, but a high percentage of the fake, social media arena, which we've also you and I specifically have uncovered to be a smaller market than it likes to think it is.
Yeah.
They're pretty much positive about it, but there is that contingent of people who are just upset because they were hoping it was going to be, Chris Evans. It was going to be Steve Rogers showing up again, or it was going to be, and now the typical Falcon and Winter Soldier sucks. This thing sucks. That's bad. This is not good. All of this is bad because I didn't get what I wanted. I didn't get what I wasn't promised. And thus it makes it bad.
At this point, though, didn't they just go through this? Like, didn't they kind of realize that this would?
They don't like I said this to you when we went over this with WandaVision. I said like the very next week, it was is Chris Evans going to be Falcon and Winter Soldier? It was like we didn't learn a thing from this.
Do you know that de-aging technology, it costs a lot of money? Like, you got to realize, like, to have Steve Rogers in what he looked like in Avengers Endgame, or to re-age him, I should say, like, that's not, you're not going to get that.
It's makeup. Chris Rogers, they just put him in some makeup.
Yeah, whatever. It's still very expensive.
That's
Chris Evans is very expensive. It's very costly.
Yes, I'm sure he is. I mean, he's much more expensive.
Seems like a very jovial fellow.
Much more expensive than Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan, apparently.
I think so.
Because,
I think so, yeah.
But I don't understand. Well, I've said this ad nauseum. I think it's very bad. I think the speculation thing is very bad. I don't think we're going to get out of it because I think there's a lot of money in it. It's clickbait at this point, and I think it's ruining. Well, a lot of things are ruining things, but I think the hysteria behind it is so exciting and so enticing that people just get into that and they totally forget reality. They totally just disregard reality of what they're being given and what's being promised and what you're seeing and what's happening right in front of you. It's kind of the same argument I made with you, and I'm not going to relitigate that about like, well, let's wait and see what it is before we decide what it is. Of course, if you're not enjoying it while it's getting there, that's valid. And then stop freaking watching it, But it is what it is. If you didn't keep watching it, you wouldn't have gotten to a point where you started to appreciate the whole thing, which is what I said was going to happen, which is basically
no guarantees that would have happened, though. I mean, that's the thing.
But it did happen, and I said it would happen, and I'm
glad.
For that, regardless of whether there's guarantees.
I'm rooting for it, and
regardless. It doesn't matter. It happened a little earlier with WandaVision, but it did happen. It does happen. But you just got to hold on long enough. Not everything can be invincible where it gets you on that first episode. It's not,
But you're allowed, you can judge the work based on what
you couldn't. I didn't say you couldn't. Didn't say you couldn't.
Yep.
Just said you should wait.
Okay.
So anyway, our inability to be patient and to digest things and to absorb things as we're watching it for what it is instead of what we want it to be is lost. Seems like it's a lost thing. Seems like we can't get to it anymore. We can't do it anymore.
I wonder because there is now content based around content and actually
and that's what the problem is.
Scorsese, talking about content versus art, which actually, I the more I read about it, I'm like, yeah, actually, no, you're 100% right because you're Martin Scorsese and you're probably brilliant.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe just.
It reminds me of like those little fish that swim around like the humpback whales, and they eat like the bacteria off the whales.
Fish. Yeah.
So they essentially are like dependent on the whales to survive, but they do it in a way that's just, it's almost.
And it's also express travel for them, right?
Right.
It's easy. It's much. It's like a bus.
Yeah.
It's like a bus that feeds you. It's like a bus with a restaurant on it.
Yeah. So there's an unseemliness to it. And at some point, we'll see. I don't know. We'll.
I just think like when it's the same as when the Last Jedi came out, right? I think Grace Randolph kind of coined the phrase like Disney's got to whatever the backlash was for Luke Skywalker. She's like Disney's got to get in front of this before it gets monetized.
Yeah.
Before the hate for it gets monetized, right? That's what it is now, man. If people are monetizing the ancillary, material that comes out with all these products, right? There's all these. It's like the followers camp, that follows an army in the old days around, right? And there would be an entire army of soldiers that would march to the procession, and then behind them might be their wives or girlfriends or doctors or squires or whoever wants to try to feed off of the supply line of the army that's going forward. That's what all these ancillary markets are that popping up about the Falcon and Winter Soldier, like such and such explain the ending of this, explain the ending of Jurassic Park, explain or whatever, so that they can feed off of the market. So now we are no longer looking at this as entertainment. We are looking at it as a revenue source. We're looking at it as bread and butter, as opposed to just something that we really enjoy and we really want to talk about. That changes the dynamic of how we talk about these things, and how we see these things. And that's also contributing to the ruin of these things, which nobody wants to talk about. People would rather talk about other things, but they don't want to talk about, like, we're part of the problem. We're part of the things that are destroying the thing that we really enjoy or love, right?
Well, when you don't talk about it as intelligently as our show does, then I agree with you. You don't come at it from a different angle like our show does.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Then I agree. What do you guys think? Talk to us about Falcon and Winter Soldier. Are you excited for the season finale? I actually am now, finally. We will dive into it next week as well. When we come back, we try a brand new segment, Pop Luck Dinner. When the girlfriend of Markham, an elite assassin, is murdered, he has one thing on his mind: revenge. But the search for her killer raises more questions than it answers and sends Markham down a long, dark tunnel into his past. Markham must decide whether he's prepared to risk his life in order to discover the truth. Now appearing on the Rogue Matter website, Hollow Mark. Read it for free. Go to roguematter.com. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. All right, so we're in this kind of like weird nebulous area where a lot of news kind of happens, but we're not we have the show. We have Falcon and Winter Soldier, thankfully. We've got some couple trailers that drop, but we can't count on that, right? But then we have a whole bunch of stuff, like just scattered out there that, you can't devote a whole show to 8 news items. So what I thought, why don't I bring you some related headlines? You choose one of the headlines we're going to talk about. So I'm going to bring you 4 different headlines, all related in some way.
What and what, pray tell, clever name have we come up with for this segment? No. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Mm-hmm. What clever name have you personally come up with for this segment?
And you personally signed off on. Pop Luck Dinner. That's tasty. Here we go.
Oh my God.
In the Spider-Man universe, Into the Spider-Verse sequel directors revealed, or Alfred Molina reveals he's playing the same Doc Ock in Spider-Man No Way Home. Which one do you want to consume?
Definitely want to consume the Doc Ock thing.
Oh, I like that's good. That. I'm glad. Okay. Alfred Molina recently shared new details about his return as Dr. Octopus in Tom Holland's Spider-Man No Way Home. It was reported Jamie Foxx and Alfred Molina would be back as Electro and Dr. Octopus. That opened the floodgates for what fans are now expecting from Tom Holland's Spider-Man No Way Home. No official word yet
and their expectations again.
Maguire or Garfield will return, but it feels like the worst kept secret at this point. In a recent interview with Variety, Molina discussed his return and what it was like coming back to Spider-Man 17 years later. When we were shooting it, we were all under orders not to talk about it because it was supposed to
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're saying Spider-Man 2 was 17 years ago already?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Spider-Man 2 could have had a kid.
I'm so sorry that I picked this segment because I don't want, that's not news I want. I don't want that news. All right. We're stuck with it. Keep going. But that
it was supposed to be some great big secret, but it's all over the internet. I actually described myself as the worst kept secret in Hollywood. It was wonderful. It was very interesting going back after 17 years to play the same role, given that in intervening years, I now have 2 chins, a waddle, crow's feet, and a slightly dodgy lower back. Later in the interview, Molina recalled his early conversations with director John Watts and revealed No Way Home will pick up Dr. Octopus's story following his death in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. Molina teased he will be de-aged in the Marvel Studios film as well. What are your thoughts on Molina's return taking place after Spider-Man 2? What do you think?
I think they shouldn't have told us. What kind of nonsense is that? That's choice surprise material, right? If you were sitting in the theater, you knew nothing about that, and suddenly Alfred Molina's Doc Ock just showed up for whatever cameo he's going to be in, and whatever. I don't suspect he's going to be an extended guest star on in whatever the material is, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be? I mean, that's just. I mean, now no matter what happens, it's gonna be lower than our expectations of it. Yeah. It's like War. Remember War?
I love War.
Jet Li and
I thought you meant the card
Jason
game.
Statham.
No, I thought you meant the card game.
See, that's why you gotta wait till I'm done. I'll explain it to you.
Yes, do you remember War? I said yes, I do remember War.
I played with Jet Li and Jason Statham.
Yeah.
Just wait till that sentence is finished, right? And the entire premise was that, Jason Statham, who at the time had proven himself quite a capable martial artist, and Jet Li, who was Jet Li, right?
Yeah.
They were gonna they're making a movie together. They've got the poster with both of their faces, angling off at each other. They fought for 5 minutes, and then it was over. And then they teamed up for the rest of the. So it's like this is a lie. This is a complete lie, but. No matter what happened, it was gonna be overblown. What we think is gonna happen, what we think is when Jet Li meets Jason Statham. So like Alfred Molina is gonna be in the new Spider-Man. Alfred Molina, who basically made Spider-Man 2 one of the most popular superhero movies, comic book superhero movies we've had in the modern age, right? Everybody loves Spider-Man 2. And a huge percentage of that is Alfred Molina. Saying that Alfred Molina is going to be in this movie, if he is anything but a major participant in this film, it's gonna ruin a lot of things. It's gonna make a lot of people upset.
We will.
I think that was a mistake.
We will see, but he will indeed be playing his Spider-Man
if he even plays Doc Ock, like if he's
could be all smoke and mirrors.
Yes,
could be
mostly.
Moving on to some Batman news. Gotham Central creator says the Batman prequel will follow James Gordon. Or do you want to talk about Michael Keaton confirmed for Batman Return in The Flash after COVID concerns?
I'm going to keep the pattern going. I'm going Michael Keaton, baby.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about
no one cares about TV. After 6 years, Ezra Miller's The Flash movie is finally happening on Monday. Director Andy Muschietti announced the start of the filming on The Flash in the United Kingdom and revealed the film's official logo on social media. In addition to seeing the return of Barry Allen, the audiences will also get to see Michael Keaton return as Batman decades later. Last month, Michael Keaton raised concerns about joining the production in the United Kingdom due to the COVID situation. However, Keaton's talent agency confirmed to The Wrap he will be suiting up as Batman once again for the solo project. Keaton last played Bruce Wayne in 1992. What are you looking forward to the most with Michael Keaton's return as Batman?
It's the same thing, same animal. It's the same thing as Alfred Molina. I love Michael Keaton's Batman. That was probably next to Affleck, my favorite modern day Batman.
Sure.
Right? The Batman that always will have my heart is Adam West's Batman, because he was the best, and he could take any one of the new Batmans, with his hands behind his back. I understand that is a controversial comment, but it is true. He will destroy them. He will easily destroy them. But Michael Keaton, who everybody thought his inception into the Batman universe as Batman was a joke, was not going to be, because he was just strictly a comedy man at the time in the 80s. So the fact that he was able to pull Batman off the way he did, and he was, was such a great presence as Batman.
Yep.
And then, whatever you want to say about Batman Returns, it was still him. He was still that presence in Batman Returns, and then he vanished from the material. Fair enough, right?
Well, that's back when comic book movies were seen as not cool, right? Like, and not even not cool. Like, as an actor, it was almost a detriment for you to be in them, because then you became.
I don't even know. I don't even know what his purpose was. Reason, it could have been money, could have been any reason that he wasn't. That he didn't come back. But bottom line, we lost him. He didn't come back. We got Val Kilmer and we got George Clooney, and that is what that is, right? So the fact that we get him back in whatever capacity just is fascinating. How they're going to work that out. Let's see how it's probably going to be Alfred Molina all over again, where he's there for 5 minutes and he's going to wander through, and they'll play the dun 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 dun, and it's over and it's gone. And then but I mean, it's exciting. I'm not upset about that at all.
In non-comic book universe news, that's the way I group this, because otherwise they have no relation to each other whatsoever, but I wanted to talk about both. Mads Mikkelsen joins Harrison Ford in James Mangold's Indiana Jones 5, or Finn Wolfhard shares update on Stranger Things 4 release.
Oh, man, that's not fair. I'll go for Mads Mikkelsen.
Ooh.
I think I heard... Let's just simplify it. I think I heard Wolfhard talk about early 2022. Yeah. So F that. Let's go from Mads Mikkelsen.
As per deadline, Mads Mikkelsen has come aboard the Harrison Ford film before production is expected to begin later this year. James Mangold is also still meeting with various other actors for other Indiana Jones 5 roles, but for the moment, it's not clear who he is playing. It'd be easy to typecast him as a villain, as he's brilliant at bringing an antagonistic force to the big screen. It was confirmed last year that Mads Mikkelsen will replace Johnny Depp as Gellert Grindelwald in the Fantastic Beasts franchise after Depp's most recent legal troubles. Will Mads Mikkelsen play another villain, or will he work with Harrison Ford?
Come on. You can't really have Mads Mikkelsen in your movie and not have him be the villain. You can't. You really can't. Right? I mean, I like him, and I've seen him as...
Some guys just have that villain face.
Yeah, he's been a good guy in one or two... He was a good guy in Rogue. One.
Yeah, but I never
Rogue
trusted
One.
him. I never trusted him.
He was in it for 2 seconds and they blew him up, and the rebels blew him up.
I'm just joking.
But I mean, but it worked. Like you were not looking at him from the corner of your eye, waiting for him to do something terrible to Jyn Erso. So he can pull both off. But I mean, Mads Mikkelsen squaring off against Harrison Ford, I'd be there for that all day.
All right, and finally, in Disney Plus news, Emilia Clarke cast as MCU mystery character in Marvel's Secret Invasion, or Marvel Studios producer Nate Moore explains why Loki warrants multiple seasons, not just a one-off.
Nah, that's just him speculating, right? We don't even know what Loki is, so let's go with Emilia Clarke.
All right. Emilia Clarke is the latest Game of Thrones actress going from Westeros to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as she's in final negotiations to join the cast of Secret Invasion. Variety broke the news but provided no details on her Secret Invasion role as it is being kept under wraps. The Secret Invasion cast is led by Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury and Ben Mendelsohn as Talos, two of the main characters of the Captain Marvel movie. Kingsley Ben-Adir and Olivia Colman are also on board, with the former said to be playing a villain. Are you?
Am I
surprised that Emilia Clarke is jumping not from Game of Thrones, but from the Star Wars universe and giving it a go-ahead in the MCU?
No, I'm not. I think it's just a foothold in history. At this point, I'm surprised. I think a lot of people want to be in the MCU in some capacity, right?
Yep.
Preferably a longer capacity than just a walk on. But I mean, you're pretty much guaranteed to have some staying power if you get into the MCU, right? And although I think she's one of the few actors or actresses that didn't benefit from being in a Star Wars movie, I know. So, I could see why she was like, yes.
Chewbacca's star got a little damaged too from that.
Screw this space stuff. I want to get it. I want to be a superhero, that I can understand that.
Although
there's a strong chance that she will be in the Lando TV show.
Yeah. I hope they
possibility
too. I really do.
Yeah, I hope it's an unofficial sequel to Solo Star Wars story.
I think that's a smart move. I think that would work either way. Follow-up question: will she be a Skrull? It's a tough one.
I mean, it's a little obvious. It would be a little obvious if she was. If she was a Skrull or she is a Skrull, we wouldn't know about it until she reveals herself. That'll be one of those like trade secrets that they won't give us any information on.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping not. I'm hoping it's more of an interesting angle for her character. But
was Khaleesi a Skrull the entire time?
That's another follow-up question. Yes, Khaleesi was a Skrull. The real
that explains it. See, that's
the real Daenerys was on the moon with Nick Fury while Westeros was burning.
Like the end credit scene of the final episode of Game of Thrones. It's just like she was a Skrull. Oh,
yeah, and she was hanging out with Nick Fury in his beach room or whatever that is.
Oh, we've been doing this for too long. All right, that is our show for tonight. Thank you guys for joining us. Next week we've got the Button Smash guys. We've got Falcon and Winter Soldier finale, and we have an awesome guest announcement next week coming up for another episode. We will see you guys next week.
Rogue Wave.